December 26, 1944, Serchio Valley, Italy. Private First Class James Tucker of the 371st Infantry Regiment, 92nd Infantry Division, retreats under heavy German fire. His company attempted to take a fortified position, met overwhelming resistance, pulled back to avoid encirclement. This is tactical retreat, standard military procedure when attack meets superior force. White divisions do this constantly throughout World War II. It's called disengaging to preserve combat effectiveness. When the 92nd does it, it's called cowardice. Major General Edward Almond, commanding the 92nd Infantry Division, writes in his report, "The Negro soldier has shown himself to be lacking in stamina and courage under fire. The 92nd Infantry Division is unreliable and cannot be trusted for offensive operations." This assessment ignores that the Christmas offensive failed because of inadequate intelligence, insufficient artillery support, and German forces being stronger than expected, problems affecting all units in the sector, not just the 92nd. But Almond is racist. He believes black soldiers are inherently inferior. When operations succeed, he credits white officers. When operations face setbacks, he blames black soldiers' racial inadequacy. His reports paint the 92nd as incompetent cowards. These reports influence how other commanders view the division. The 92nd develops reputation as unreliable, despite actual combat performance being comparable to white divisions in similar circumstances. 4 months later, April 1945, the situation changes. Fifth Army needs to break through German defensive lines in the Serchio Valley. Multiple white divisions tried and failed. The Gothic Line, Germany's last defensive position in Italy, has held for 6 months. Allied forces can't break through. Fifth Army is desperate. They need breakthrough to end the Italian campaign. They've tried everything with white divisions. Nothing worked. Reluctantly, they turned to the unreliable 92nd Infantry Division. The same division Almond called cowardly. The same soldiers labeled incapable of offensive operations. April 5, 1945. The 92nd attacks. Tucker and thousands of other Buffalo soldiers advance against German positions. They expect fierce resistance. The Gothic Line held against Allied attacks for 6 months. They break through in 48 hours. The 92nd advances 30 miles, captures over 350 German prisoners, collapses the defensive line that stopped white divisions for half a year. The breakthrough is decisive. It ends organized German resistance in Italy. The commanders who called them cowards in December now take credit for their victory in April. Almond writes reports praising innovative tactics and superior leadership, meaning white officers, while criticizing the 92nd for excessive casualties. This is James Tucker's story and the story of the 92nd Infantry Division. Called unreliable, given impossible missions, succeeding anyway, then denied recognition. If you want military history about soldiers who proved racist commanders catastrophically wrong, subscribe right now. Drop a comment with where you're watching from. The 92nd broke the Gothic Line and got blamed for it. Edward Almond takes command of the 92nd Infantry Division in 1942. He's a career Army officer from Virginia, raised in the segregated South, holding deeply racist views. He believes black soldiers are racially inferior, less intelligent, less courageous, less capable than white soldiers. The Army assigns him to command a black division because segregation policy requires commanders for black units, and Almond is available. His racism is known, but not considered disqualifying. Many Army officers in the 1940s hold similar views. Almond's command philosophy reflects his racism. He attributes any success to white officers' leadership. He blames any failure on black soldiers' racial inadequacy. This creates impossible dynamic. The division can't win recognition regardless of performance. The 92nd deploys to Italy in 1944. They enter combat in the summer, fighting in the Italian mountains against German defensive positions. Their performance is mixed, like all divisions in sustained combat. Some operations succeed, some face setbacks. They take casualties, hold positions, conduct attacks, defend against counterattacks. It's normal combat performance for a division learning warfare. But Almond interprets everything through racial lens. When white divisions face similar challenges, supply problems, communication failures, tactical setbacks, he attributes them to normal combat friction. When the 92nd faces identical challenges, he blames black soldiers' racial inferiority. This bias affects how the division is employed. Almond assigns difficult missions, provides inadequate support, then blames black soldiers when missions don't achieve unrealistic objectives. December 1944, Almond orders the Christmas offensive, attack against German positions in Serchio Valley. The plan is ambitious. Break through fortified German defenses, advance rapidly, disrupt enemy operations. The attack begins December 26th. The 92nd advances against stronger-than-expected German resistance. Intelligence underestimated enemy strength. Artillery support is insufficient. The attack stalls after initial gains. Almond orders continued attacks despite mounting casualties and unclear intelligence. The 92nd fights for days, takes heavy losses, makes limited progress. Eventually, commanders on the ground order tactical retreat to preserve the division. This is standard military decision-making. When attack meets superior force and success is unlikely, you disengage to avoid destruction. Almond calls it cowardice. After the Christmas offensive, Almond writes scathing reports about the 92nd. His assessment? Negro soldiers lack the courage and stamina required for offensive operations. The 92nd Infantry Division cannot be relied upon for difficult missions. Black soldiers panic under fire and require constant supervision from white officers. These conclusions ignore actual evidence. The 92nd held positions under German counterattacks. Individual units fought effectively despite inadequate support. Casualties were high, partly because Almond ordered continued attacks against superior forces. Tactical retreats were ordered by white officers, not black soldiers panicking. But Almond's racism prevents objective assessment. He decided before the offensive that black soldiers would fail. When the operation faced normal combat challenges, he interpreted them as proving racial inferiority. His reports circulate through Fifth Army and higher commands. Other officers read Almond's assessment and accept it, partly because they share his racism, partly because criticizing a division commander's evaluation is difficult. The 92nd's reputation suffers. They're labeled unreliable, assigned to secondary missions, given inadequate resources. The institutional assumption becomes, the 92nd can't handle serious combat. This is the story of a division labeled cowardly, then assigned the impossible mission nobody else could accomplish. If you want military history about racism proven catastrophically wrong, subscribe right now. Drop a comment with where you're watching from. The 92nd broke the line that stopped everyone else. Individual soldiers in the 92nd know this is unjust. They fought hard in December. They took casualties. They conducted tactical retreats when ordered by white officers. Now they're called cowards because their racist commander blamed them for operational failures. Private Tucker and others feel the weight of this. Every future operation carries extra burden. If they succeed, white officers get credit. If they fail, it proves racial inferiority. They can't win the narrative regardless of actual performance. Through January to March 1945, the 92nd conducts defensive operations and limited patrols. They're not trusted with major offensive missions. Other divisions conduct attacks, while the 92nd holds quiet sectors. Soldiers know they're sidelined. They train, maintain readiness, hope for opportunity to prove Almond wrong. That opportunity comes in April. Spring 1945. Allied forces plan final offensive to end the Italian campaign. The Gothic line must be broken. German forces are weakening, but still holding defensive positions. A successful offensive will collapse German resistance and end the war in Italy. Fifth Army assigns sectors for the offensive. White divisions receive various positions. Then comes the problem: the Serchio Valley sector. Multiple white divisions tried breaking through here. All failed. The German defenses are strongest in this sector. Fortified positions, clear fields of fire, experienced defenders. It's the hardest nut to crack. Fifth Army faces a choice: assign another white division to try again, or use the unreliable 92nd. Reluctantly, they choose the 92nd. The reasoning is cynical. If the 92nd fails, it confirms they're unreliable. If they somehow succeed, it's a bonus. Either way, they're expendable. The 92nd receives extensive reinforcement for the offensive. Additional artillery, armor support, combat engineers, air cover. They're given resources white divisions didn't have in previous attempts. Why the extra support? Partly because lessons were learned from previous failures. Partly because commanders assume the 92nd needs extra help. Either way, the division gets better support than they received in December. Tucker and other soldiers prepare intensively. They know this is their chance to disprove the unreliable label. They train for mountain assault, practice combined arms coordination, rehearse operations. They also feel pressure. This operation will define how the 92nd is remembered. Success proves Almond wrong. Failure confirms racist assumptions. April 5, 1945, 0400 hours. Artillery bombardment begins. Thousands of shells pound German positions for 30 minutes. The preparation is heavier than previous attacks. More guns, more ammunition. At 0430, bombardment lifts. The 92nd advances. Tucker's company moves toward German positions, expecting fierce resistance. They encounter defensive fire, machine guns, mortars, artillery, but push through. German defenders are demoralized. They've held positions for months. Supplies are scarce. Reinforcement is unlikely. When American infantry reaches positions, many Germans surrender rather than fight. The 92nd exploits this. They maintain momentum, press attacks aggressively, don't allow Germans to regroup. They use combined arms, infantry supported by tanks and artillery, to overwhelm defensive positions. By nightfall, April 5th, the 92nd advances several miles and captures numerous German positions. This exceeds expectations based on previous attempts. April 6th, attacks continue. German resistance stiffens slightly, but the 92nd maintains pressure. They advance through the day, capture more positions, take prisoners. By April 7th, 48 hours after the offensive began, the breakthrough is complete. The 92nd advances 30 miles, captures over 350 German prisoners, and collapses the defensive line that held for 6 months. This is extraordinary achievement. The Gothic line stopped Allied attacks for half a year. Multiple White divisions tried breaking this sector and failed. The unreliable 92nd broke through in 48 hours. After the breakthrough, the narrative control begins. Fifth Army reports credit superior Allied tactics and innovative operational planning. They mention the 92nd participated, but don't emphasize their decisive role. Almond writes reports about the offensive. Despite the 92nd's success, he finds criticisms. The division suffered excessive casualties due to inadequate small unit leadership. Greater tactical discipline would have reduced losses. This is gaslighting. The 92nd's casualties were proportionate to mission difficulty. Breaking fortified defenses always costs casualties. White divisions in similar operations suffered comparable or higher casualty rates. But Almond maintains his racism even when proven wrong. The 92nd succeeded, so he criticizes how they succeeded rather than acknowledging their achievement. Other commanders follow similar patterns. They credit breakthrough to superior resources, German demoralization, fortunate timing, anything except the 92nd's execution. The soldiers who actually fought know truth. They broke the Gothic line. They accomplished what White divisions couldn't. They proved doubters wrong. But recognition doesn't come. The division receives Presidential Unit Citation for their Italian campaign service. General recognition, not specific to the Gothic line breakthrough. Tucker and other veterans return home expecting acknowledgement. They broke Germany's last Italian defensive line, ended the campaign, proved combat effectiveness. Instead, they face continued discrimination. They return to segregated America. The Army remains segregated. Their achievement is minimized in official histories. He occasionally discusses World War II service, but doesn't emphasize the Gothic line. Official narratives minimized it. Few people know the 92nd's role. He dies in 2001 at age 79. His obituary mentions World War II service in Italy, but doesn't detail the Gothic line breakthrough. Most 92nd veterans experience similar erasure. They accomplished extraordinary achievement, breaking defensive line that stopped Allied forces for 6 months. They proved racist commanders wrong. They demonstrated capability despite being labeled unreliable. They received minimal recognition, died largely unknown, and remain footnotes in histories that should celebrate their achievement. The 92nd Infantry Division's Gothic line breakthrough deserves recognition as decisive military achievement and refutation of racist assumptions. They broke Germany's last Italian defensive position in 48 hours, something white divisions couldn't accomplish in 6 months. White commanders took credit, minimized the achievement, and continued claiming black soldiers were inferior, even after being proven catastrophically wrong.